Hi friends, it's Andy, and I'm here today to talk to you about obsessive compulsive disorder. Or, I guess more specifically, what people think OCD is, and what OCD actually is. I was a super nervous kid. Not casually nervous, like noticeably nervous. And, anyone that met me at some point said, hey, you're like a really uptight kid. Sometimes to my face, but mostly behind my back. And what was once just a personality quirk became generalized anxiety in my teens. Then depression and anxiety. And eventually I landed on the diagnosis that had made sense all along. OCD. The reason I didn't know I had OCD is because I'd never seen anyone like me before, especially on TV. Save for a few. So we're talking Spencer Reid from Criminal Minds, or the Riddler from Batman. And that's it, really. Think about it. I'll give you 5 seconds to think. If you can come up with any characters with OCD. Me neither. But they were the only people that showed up in a Google search, so that's all we really have to go with. And what are their character traits? Spencer Reid is known for being good at puzzles and noticing the small things that other people tend not to. He's also described as socially awkward and having a hard time holding conversations or navigating his emotions. The Riddler, or Edward Nygma, on the other hand, is depicted as being more criminal and deviant due to his compulsions. While it is addressed that he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, like many OCD sufferers, this implies that there is action to the OCD, whereas in almost every case of OCD, action is never involved. Meaning, people with OCD worry about being criminals and committing heinous acts, but rarely do. We've talked a bit about what OCD isn't, and I think it's time we talk about what it is. OCD is a disorder in which people have recurring, unwanted thoughts or ideas, and sometimes even sensations that we're going to call obsessions, that make them feel driven to do a certain action repeatedly. We're going to call these compulsions. Obsessions cover a wide range of topics. These can be disturbing sexual thoughts or images, the fear of blurting out obscenities or insults, an extreme concern with order, symmetry, or precision, recurrent intrusive thoughts of sounds, images, words, or numbers, a fear of contamination, not just from germs, but from things like bad thoughts, words, or bad feelings. Compulsions, or the response to overwhelming or disturbing obsessions, can take a lot of forms. Typical compulsions that are seen in the media can look like excessive hand washing, showering, brushing teeth, or the repetitive cleaning of household objects or ordering and arranging things in a certain way. And while these are compulsions for people suffering with OCD, there are other versions of compulsions to consider, such as repeatedly checking locks or switches or appliances, constantly seeking approval from friends or loved ones that things are going to be okay, or that their obsessive thought isn't true, and much more. Through all the therapy, workbooks, conversations, the one thing that truly stuck out to me as someone suffering with OCD is the concept of radical acceptance. See, OCD is the disease of doubt. It makes you question everything you think you know, think you did, think you will ever do. And the concept of radical acceptance forces you to live in that uncertainty. It's the anxiety of that doubt and that fear that feeds OCD. And while it's incredibly difficult to do, forcing myself to accept that yes, it's very well possible my loved one may get into a car accident out there, or I may die of a horrible disease, or I may blurt out the F-bomb in Safeway. I have to come to peace with the fact that those things may be true, and I have to live my life anyway. This is of course not the only way to combat OCD. I strongly recommend reaching out to a professional if this is something you think you're struggling with. I am going to leave a bunch of links in the description below that have helped me along my journey of figuring out my OCD and my path to wellness. And, of course, stay well.